There's a lot of like, rolling around in
Mhm.
on the floor or like jumping or dancing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this colored cloth you see everywhere in Thailand because people would wrap these around objects that they think are sacred. People came out of the theater saying it was a very funny show, and I thought, wow, that's very interesting. And also shared a lot of stories together about not just about gender, but also about life, about struggles, about social struggles and all these.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Manika Podcast. This is the podcast where we dive deep into the world of creativity and explore the creative journeys of artists, creators, and writers. And joining us today is Sasapin. He is the artistic director and also a talented actress, performer, independent performing arts producer, and also a curator. So, could you please introduce yourself for us?
Hi, Dinah. Thanks for having me here. So my name is Sasapin Siriwanij, and I am based in Bangkok, Thailand. Um, I do many things in the performing arts, actually. So I would say that I am kind of deeply rooted in the contemporary performing arts scene in Thailand, doing different things, and that includes producing, curating, directing a festival, and also I'm an artist myself. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, as the first question I usually ask, it's about the very beginning of your journey. So, what first drew you to acting and performing arts? And maybe was there a specific moment, maybe a book, maybe a play or a film or a teacher who made you think, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. So the beginning of my journey started kind of during my university time. When I was in university, I was actually studying English literature and
Mm-hmm.
nothing about theater or the arts actually. But I did a lot of activities. I love doing extracurricular activities. And one day I saw an open call for audition for a play. And it was like a play that the drama club was doing with the English club in my university. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. I don't know what it means to be in a theater play. So I went in, I made it, I passed the audition, got into the production. And then when we started rehearsing, I found that in the process of rehearsal of acting or theater, the director would ask you how you feel, we would get to do different things. And I suddenly felt like, oh, for the first time, I really felt that my feelings mattered
Mm-hmm.
and someone cared about how I feel and how I feel could affect the result of that day's rehearsal or it would, change the direction of things. So that was really an important moment of me feeling like I feel related to myself and myself as it is was related to other people in the space and not just what we do or our ability, but it's more ourselves and our feeling. And that's when I would say I fell in love with theater, and I vowed to myself that I would stick to this art form for as long as I could in my life. Didn't know how that would be, but I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna stick to theater and I'm gonna do everything that I can to make myself able to stay in this for as long as I could. Yeah.
Do you remember the first play you have ever seen?
Yeah, it wasn't a written play already, so someone mixed the three Greek mythologies love stories together. So
Mm-hmm.
it was Cupid and Psyche. There was one, the other one, I don't remember these Greek gods' names anymore, but there was one with the wall in between, the
Mm-hmm.
lovers between the walls. And there was another couple, I think that's the girl who turned into a tree, Apollo chased her or something like this. So it was three couples from Greek mythology, and I was the main couple, which was Cupid and Psyche. So
Oh,
I played Psyche. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was yeah.
oh, so cool. So you curated a lot of projects, and could you please tell us more about your project called Vessel Unbound, and what was the inspiration behind this work?
Yeah, so Vessel Unbound is the project where I am the artist, and the project was curated by another festival called
Mm-hmm.
Homo House, and it's a queer performing arts festival in Thailand, and this is their second edition. And the focus of the festival this year was to focus on the queer community, but more especially for people who were assigned female at birth, so AFAB
Mm-hmm.
people And they were looking to engage artists who worked or could work within this kind of community or issues. And then it I mean, strangely enough, they found me, and when we started the conversation, I was also asking them these questions a bit, because I don't usually identify as queer. I identify as a cis woman.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they invited me to work on the show, it was more about what they saw I did with my past work, which is called Vessel. And I did that with female identifying individuals. Yeah. And they were interested in having me kind of revisiting that process for this queer,
Mm-hmm.
context. Yeah. So that's how I came about, getting my hands on this project. And Vessel Unbound, with the same principle as what I did with Vessel, is that we had an open call, calling individuals. And this time we called for people who identify with femininity in diverse ways. So they don't have to be born a woman, but if they feel like being female or being feminine is an important part of their identity today, and they're interested in exploring it in a performative ways
Mm-hmm.
and through body movements, and they could join the project. So we had this open call, and we ended up with a lot of applications actually, with people with a lot of diverse identities, which made me really, really excited. And then we came down to 9 individuals in the end. Um, and most of them were non-performers, so they never were on stage before. They didn't have training, and that was also a very exciting part of the project, that we spent together developing some basic like common understanding, and also shared a lot of stories together about not just about gender, but also about life, about struggles, about social struggles and all these. And then I think the common point of all of us having so many different backgrounds coming together in Vessel Unbound is through the body, the language of the body, and what the body can reveal or express. And that was also the basis of the performance. So I kind of created the space where the performers could freely express themselves. And then
Mm-hmm.
slowly, slowly, we gave a shape to what emerged in the rehearsal room, and then it became a show. Yeah. And then that whole process was like 10 days that we spent together, and then we made a show at the end of 10 days.
It seems like such a powerful project the way you describe it. And how
Mm,
do you explore physicality in your performances, and why is this so important to you in the
mm.
performances?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. It's like it's a big part of my history, but sometimes I forget to mention it because I'm doing many things all at once.
Mm-hmm.
For many years, and also still now, I'm a member of B Floor Theater, and B Floor Theater is a physical theater company that's been around for 20-ish years already, and I'm kind of their maybe third generation member. And I trained for many years with all these very talented, my senior peers, the artistic directors, and my senior peers and colleagues for many years. So I was really active with the Floor Theater from 2009 up until maybe 2015 or 16 or 17. We're still together, but I think as a collective, we became kind of loose at the moment because everyone grew older,
Mm-hmm.
grow older and have other responsibilities. But I think for a good 10 years or so, we had really active years where we produced a lot of performances. We had a lot of training together, did a lot of rehearsals, and we tried out a lot of techniques, dance, physical theater movements, So that was really the years where I formed my skills and interests. And I think with these 10-ish years that I've been intensely with B4, I developed this intense, what is it? This deep trust in
Mm-hmm.
the body, and also as an authentic way towards your self-expression, towards your critique. Also, like I believe that the body carries a lot of messages, memories and expressions. So for me, it has become the only authentic way to listen to yourself. So yeah, so being with BFlow for so many years, I still carry around this set of tools or set of skills that I have. And whenever I venture on an artistic project, I would first and foremost resort to exploring the body or thinking in the body way. So that, that as opposed to maybe somebody who's more text-based, where you would start with writing and stuff. I'm really not a text-based person in that regard at
Mhm.
all. I never really start with the text. I always start with the body or thinking about the body or the space rather than the text first.
Oh, that's so
Mm.
interesting. Yeah, because for
Mm.
example, when so I work like collaborate with a musical band, with the Thai musical band, Phila Cinema. Yeah, and Ploy, who introduced me to you, yeah,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
yeah took part in this project, and it's very interesting for me to hear how other artists and creators start their work, because for example
Mm.
sometimes you start with lyrics, sometimes you start with the music, and it's so interesting to hear that you start with like exploring the body movements, and so
Yeah.
yeah, so cool.
Yeah, so another way to call it is also device. So I guess my background or really my practice is the combination between devising and physical theater. So devising is pretty much a technique or a tool that you start creation from, again, not from a text, but from exploring together in
Mm-hmm.
rehearsal what is possible, and then no one really takes a lead. That's kind of my practice, that everyone, the performers and myself as the director, we all explore together what's possible, and we start to see things together, and then from there we shape things together. Mm. Which I think devising you could also work with text, but in my case I use devising with yeah, body movement. So there's a lot of like, rolling around in
Mm-hmm.
on the floor or like jumping or dancing improvisation
Mm-hmm.
before things start to settle and like form into scenes or yeah, or shows. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. And as a
Mm.
curator, can you mention maybe any trends or themes that are emerging in Southeast Asian contemporary performance?
Mm. Uh, It's a big question. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
I I think I can say more clearly about the recent trend.
Mm-hmm.
The question of what is going on today, I think I'm at the point where I'm also still looking where it's going. But I think for the past, at least maybe 5 or 6 years or so, I think there's been a lot of desire or urges within the Southeast Asian performing arts community to, one is to become stronger, to build their own communities, and also to connect together regionally. And I think you can probably already understand that this comes from the arts being predominantly what is it, influenced by, the Eurocentric kind of point of view,
Mm-hmm.
where the best is always coming from elsewhere. Europe, people always look to Europe or North America as a career or as a standard, or as something that's like big and better and professional, whatever. Which I think there's some truth in it also, but I think the region was missing looking at ourselves. Yeah, so I think the past 4 or 5 or 5, 6 years, we've been trying to look more within ourselves and build something from the ground, which is Southeast Asia, and not always looking toward outside, or the other continents for references, for measurement, for benchmarks or anything. So I think this is what we have been doing as a region. And I would say that today those efforts have come to fruition already, which is really a beautiful thing to see, that I think now we can identify many, many important and vibrant communities or festivals in Southeast Asia that are really like worth visiting and are exciting. And this, not to say that Southeast Asia didn't have it before, but I think it wasn't so visible before. But right now, I think it's much easier to feel this visibility and the vibrancy of the region, having many things popping up all the time, and also in different more different countries. Yeah, not just in like always Singapore or always Thailand,
Mm-hmm.
but right now each country in Southeast Asia start to have their own initiatives that are very exciting and strong. So that's, I think, as I would say, that's the recent trend up to about now. And I think right now I'm also looking where the region is going. Um, because it's not the worst time, but it's also not the best time. So talking about Southeast Asia, sorry, I'm gonna dip into politics a little bit because it's kind of inevitable that
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
this region is so based on the political instability. And Southeast Asia is unique in its arts operation in this way because most of the countries in the region don't have infrastructures for the arts. You know, the government or the countries are never really paying attention for supporting the arts systematically, like, you know, like Europe or like again North America, for example, where you have really a system in place to support the arts, the ecosystem, and blah blah blah. You would have theaters and blah blah blah. In Southeast Asia, people want to do things, they do it, you
Mm-hmm.
know. We don't have a theater that we can just say, hey, I want to use this theater. Like there's not really anything. People just find, make do with what they can find. And so that's one thing. But also the other thing is, I think pre-COVID and the COVID times, and a little bit after COVID times, you could see a lot of political turmoil in Southeast Asia. So for many years, we were also just grappling with the sheer political instability in the region. And a lot of arts initiatives have been about, yeah, have been about trying to tackle these political situations. And I think we have a bit come out of that at this point. So I think I'm looking where the region is going or what is it excited about. And looks like a lot of people are trying to build stronger infrastructures for the arts, again, by themselves, not so much from the country, for the government. But I think we might see even stronger grassroots systems or infrastructures from Southeast Asian countries in the near future. Maybe that would be my my guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm still yet to see what's really emerging in the country. So it's like we're turning into a new phase, and it's still fuzzy a bit at the moment to see what's really coming. But maybe we'll see this in a couple of years. Yeah. I hope that makes sense and not too complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what kind of stories are you passionate about telling next? And do you have maybe a dream project with the topic that really interests you?
Um, it's hard to think about a dream project right now because I'm working on a few projects that I have on my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not thinking about a future project, but more
Mm-hmm.
like the near future
About the
project
current
that I'm
ones. Mm-hmm.
working on. Yeah, like this year I finished Vessel Unbound already, but I'm working on two more projects of my own, which actually will be shown in Germany, both of them, funnily enough. One is a performative installation that that will be a part of Wiesbaden Biennale in Germany, and this is in September. So I'm preparing for that. And also another work will be in Berlin in Maxim Gorky Theater. This will be at the around the end of November, and it's a guest performance of my work called By the Book that I did in Bangkok a couple of years before. And this piece is going to be presented in Berlin. Yeah. So right now I'm kind of busy thinking about these two, but I don't have a future dream project at the moment. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you share if you are allowed? Can you share the topics of these projects that you are working
Yeah.
on?
So the one that's going to be at the Wiesbaden Biennale is called Colored Resurrect. And um, it's pretty much bringing the colors or the idea of color even borrowing from Thai folk traditions, and I'm gonna bring that over to Wiesbaden. And let's say conceptually I want to kind of spread the colors all over this particular space,
Mm-hmm.
which is very white as in physically white also, like it's full of, columns that are really big and really white, but also white in a sense of the colonial history
Mm-hmm.
of the place as well. So by bringing colors, I'm actually bringing physical colors from Thailand, which is basically, actually I have a I have a sample, this kind of thing.
Ah, uh-huh.
Yeah, so this colored cloth you see everywhere in Thailand because people would wrap these around objects that they think are sacred, so like
Mm-hmm.
spirit houses or trees or whatnot, sometimes boats and ferry as well. And this will be the primary objects, the colors that I'm bringing over to the theater in
That's such a
Wiesbaden.
beautiful metaphor.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's really fun. I think apart from the color and it being a fun traditions, I am very interested in this kind of uh, ritual because essentially it gives you kind of a freedom to designate your own god or object of worship, So if you see something and you think, oh, I think this is going to be sacred and I want to have a relation to it, you just go and then you wrap around it
Mm-hmm.
and then you start praying to it, you start communicating with it. Sometimes people would ask for, whatever lottery number. That's not the important part, but I think I'm super interested in the idea of you just, you don't need a formal religious institution. You have this and you have your wish and you go and
Mm-hmm.
you just, okay, this is going to be my sacred thing and I'm going to pray to you now by claiming the space using this kind of thing. So I like that idea also. And so this installation using this kind of cloth will be at this theater in Wiesbaden. And then I'm bringing also some related folk rituals that are related to kind of, offering to the spirit or like asking for wishes or granting wishes and things like this. So this will be accompanying the installation itself. And this is the piece in Wiesbaden. The one that will be in Berlin, that's a very different concept. So the piece is called By the Book because what I did was we took the Thai constitution and we read it on stage while we dance. Actually, that's
Mm-hmm.
the show. It's very simple. And the reason that I did that is because the current constitution that we're using in Thailand, it's been around since 2017, and it still remains the most problematic one in terms of, kind of consolidating powers for the people who shouldn't have so much power,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. And it's still in use. And a lot of people try to propose new drafts, and it's never been successful. So this most problematic version of the Constitution is still in use today, like it's still governing our lives today. So much so that to a point I thought, actually, I wanna actually read what's in the Constitution. I want to understand that if Thailand is like a person, then this book of Constitution is its morality and its values. And I want
Mm-hmm.
to find out what kind of values or priorities our country has. So I actually made myself read the thick book of Constitution and finished it. And we excerpted some major clauses that mostly affect our lives as a citizen. And we read it out loud in the show while we also dance with it. And it's me and another performer doing this on
Mm-hmm.
stage in swimsuit.
Mm-hmm.
So you see two women in swimsuit dancing around and also reading the Constitution. Sometimes we read it to ourselves, sometimes we read it to each other, sometimes we read it to the audience. And what I didn't expect was that it became a very funny show when we first did it in Bangkok. I thought, Constitution would be very serious, but people came out of the theater saying it was a very funny show. And I thought, wow, that's very interesting. And I think that goes to show that the Constitution is funny in a sense that it's ridiculous. There's so many things that are written in there that if you hear it and then you go like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Is that really in the Constitution? Like, was it really written like that? Like, yeah, actually, it is written like that. And what does that mean? That means that your life as a citizen will be governed by these funny writing, and you will also be punished by these funny, ridiculous writing. And not that people haven't tried to do anything about it. People have, but no one has been successful. So that's a big revelation of the state that this country is in for me. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that piece is going to Berlin in November.
yeah, the way
Yeah.
you describe it, I really want to see it with my own eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Like we try to make it silly and funny. Yeah.
And where do you usually find inspiration when you approach a project? For example, the current ones or maybe the new ones that you'll have in the future. And
Mm.
are there any specific maybe experiences or places that spark your creativity?
I think this I have to really credit B Floor Theater again for this kind of training that
Mm-hmm.
they didn't train me to be like this, but I think the years that I spent with them kind of incubated me to have this perspective, which is when I go into a place or when I think about subject, then I want to think uh, what needs to be said or what else can we think about? How else can we look at this particular place or subject matter? So, for example, the piece at Wiesbaden Biennale, I didn't come with an issue in mind or a subject
Mm-hmm.
matter, but that I went to see the space itself, and I had a feeling of like, I want to do something with it. I don't like that it looks like this, and I want to change it. I want to affect it. I want to influence it. What can I bring to change it completely? I think with B Floor, we were always interested in having alternative questions or alternative answers to things. And this is kind of, I think my works differ greatly from one piece to another, but the one thing that maybe weaves all of them as a commonality is this perspective of like, what else can we say about this thing? What other possibilities is there for this object or this group of people or this place, for example? So I'm thinking about other possibility, like alternative perspectives, maybe per se. Yeah, and that applies to a lot of things. If I go back to Vessel Unbound or Vessel, it is about gender, it is about, women or about other feminine identifying individuals. I think what I wanted to show in the piece is how to look at these individuals or ourselves, not just by gender, because sometimes when you say woman, there's a set of image already, and then you're a woman, and then it's hard for people to think outside that what is it, preconceived
Mm-hmm.
notion of women. And so the show was really trying to what is it, reveal as many possibilities of women so that the audience could see all these diversity and possibilities, and they could see that at the end that kind of preconceived notion is not important anymore. Everyone here calls themselves a woman, they are women, but they have all these differences in them and they are still women. So that's kind of where I wanted to get the audience to come to watching the performance. Yeah.
And what is the attitude towards feminism in Thailand? Because, for
Mm,
example, in Russia, where I'm from,
mm,
it's quite problematic, and with all the new laws that are mm, going on right now, it's like we are not progressing, but we are degrading in this sort of way. How is it in
mm,
Thailand?
mm. Um, it's a big and also interesting question. I would say that the discrimination in Thailand, it's more in the culture, and it's not so, it hasn't yet been so systematic as in like, to be written into the law. Actually, it's quite hopeful that the laws tend to try to want to become more progressive. I think in the lawmaking itself, there's a lot of efforts and movements into trying to make gender related laws becoming more progressive, and that's a good sign. But I think the discrimination is still kind of deeply rooted within the culture itself. So when you find discrimination, it's not really culture. And sometimes it goes unnoticed because it's very subtle. Um, it's very different in terms of expression from, I would say, like, more Western cultures. It's more, what is it, more visible. Like you have like real violence on the street. It's true that we don't have that kind of thing, but like violence on the street on queer people or things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
then that's not true in maybe less visible areas like you know, domestic areas, relate lives in a relationship, or like these casual comments that you see on the internet and things like that. So I think that the discrimination comes out more in these realms and not in the legislation, for example. So not to, I was gonna say like, yeah, it's not the same as in your country, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point.
Can you share maybe what do you do when you encounter creative block, and are there any techniques or maybe any possible ways that you use in order to
Hmm.
go back into the flow?
Yeah, I would say there is a short-term solution and long-term solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Long-term solutions is staying curious, in life. This is kind of a lifetime thing. I think you want to always stay curious. And curious can be anything. I think sometimes the block also comes from how we begin to define ourselves as a creative or as an artist. For example, if I call myself a performing artist or a theater artist, then I only keep thinking about theater and performing arts, and I stop exposing myself to other things like visual arts or film or even just nature.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not beneficial to you. So the definition then that you tend to start to give to yourself becomes a block. So I think staying curious also means always, pushing out of your own definition, whatever, whether that's a definition that you give to yourself or someone else or the society gives to you. So I think always breaking your own definition can help. That's a long-term kind of solution. The short-term solution when you're in a creation process, um, I trust my intuition a lot, and I'm not sure if everybody has this in their practice, but if you do, then I think I can really trust the process. As in, like, sometimes you have to trust that at the end of this, task or exercise or process that you give to yourself, something's gonna come up, and then you're gonna know intuitively, if you're in your practice and stuff, you're gonna know intuitively what is the next thing to do, what is the next right thing to do, and not to put too much worry before it starts and just kind of dive in it, and then at the end you'll know. And maybe nothing comes out of it, but that's okay. But I don't think that kind of process is a waste ever. When when I say this, I mean, for example, like I would come into a studio, the rehearsal studio with my performers, and then be like, okay, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do today. So I'm just, okay, I read the room, see the energy of everyone. Okay, looks like today everybody is very tired and they want to stay on the floor. Okay, let's start with an exercise that everyone can start from the floor,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And then we just keep going with the process. And then at the end of it, it would reach somewhere else, There's all so the process is with the process, you start A and you always end up B or C or D. You never end up the same place. So if nothing else comes to mind, I think you can also take it step by step like this and trusting that it will take you further and just do it anyway. I think many times we feel like, oh, this is gonna be a waste of time, so I don't want to do it. But like not doing it doesn't help. So
Mm-hmm.
doing it, something's gonna come up. Maybe you use it, maybe you don't, whatever. but then it gets you somewhere
Yeah, it's all
further.
about the experience that you create, yeah,
Mm.
when you work and collab with other people. Yeah, so
Yeah, and also fail, failure.
yeah, it's
You
also
learn a lot
important.
from failure too. Yeah, it is a process. It is a step for sure. So yeah, I don't know if that really helps, but that's kind of my that's how I solve it. It was like if I can't push it, then I don't push. I'm just gonna sit, look, see, and then okay, maybe we try this, without overthinking it, I guess. Mm,
Yeah, I can relate
yeah.
because, for example, when I have a creative block, I can, for example, random things can trigger my
Mm,
thoughts, and I can create, for example,
true.
a, a word or maybe a sentence, and then a whole poem will come out of it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
interesting the way the
Yeah. Yeah.
inspiration goes.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, random things helps too. I love really like exercises where you're pushed to take into account random things,
Mhm.
and then your mind goes somewhere else and you're like, oh, I never expected myself to be able to go there before. Things like that.
Yeah, that's right. And as for aspiring writers, directors, or maybe anyone who wants to nurture their creativity and develop their own unique voice in their work, can you share maybe any advice that you would give these people?
I think two things. One is for themselves, the other one is to go out into the community. So I said this to a lot of people, that if you want to be an artist, you have to make work. You cannot think yourself into an artist. You
Mhm.
actually have to make work. And when you're young and you're just beginning, myself included, you're going to do things that you wouldn't like. You're going to do things that are not very good. You're going to do things that you might regret later, but you have to do it because that's part of the journey. You cannot think that you're gonna hit it off with the first one and you're gonna be successful from the very first thing that you do. That is just not realistic. So you just have to do and be okay or stay with this awkward situation where you're like, I don't really like what I'm producing, but I have to do it anyway. So it's gonna be a bit awkward and funny, but that's part of the journey. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is you have to get involved. Uh, you also can't just work and stay within your own world, because then no one knows about what you're doing. You're also not going to know about how the world is going on, what other people are doing. And it's not about just taking inspiration, but I think it's also to understand yourself, um, in a bigger picture. It's really not about comparison or anything, but I think it's a great feeling when you feel like what you do is similar, or you're speaking about the same subject matter as that artist. So you're like, oh, you feel less alone maybe in your journey, or you're using some kind of technique or practice, and then you feel that somebody is doing something similar. And I think much less about competition. It's more about feeling less alone in
Mhm.
your artistic journey. Yeah. And when you find your community, it's very mutually nourishing, I think this is especially true in the performing arts, where it's the art form that is always collective. You cannot do it alone. Like, I think a visual artist can still kind of do things on their own. But if you have a performance, at least you need an audience. There's already at least two people. You
Mhm.
cannot have one person. But if you have a production, then there's like your director, your performers, your stage manager, your sound designer, your lighting designer, your producer, your ticket manager. It's a whole community, and you cannot be isolated. So getting involved with the community that you want to be in is also important. Yeah. And that can look like going to other shows, taking workshops, joining networking parties, joining the party, joining the festival, whatever. And in the case of Thailand, it's very casual, I think. There's no like, hard boundaries of who's in and who's out. There's nothing like that. But if you show up enough, if you show that you're interested to be involved enough, people will remember you, and then you will slowly be invited or asked to like join other things. And I think especially for performing artists, this sense of community is very, very important. Yeah. Mm. So that would be my 2 cents on this. Yeah.
And can you share a book or a movie that has significantly influenced your perspective that maybe you've watched recently that caught your attention? Or maybe read,
Ooh.
if it's
Mm.
about a book.
That's really hard because I don't usually have like one thing that I stick to. Like I watch things and they kind of pass or they serve me
Mm-hmm.
at different points, and maybe when I'm older it's like less important. And this I can't think of any right now that I would give as like one singular name. But maybe what comes up to my mind right now is the book called The Body Keeps the Score. And I don't know why it comes up right now, but I'll talk about it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So The Body Keeps the Score is written by, I believe, a psychologist or a doctor. And he tries to talk about how people who have symptoms or depressions related to life trauma, these are very much kept within the body. And I think he was trying to advocate for exploring and examining the body as an essential source of information and healing for people with traumatic experiences, rather than just relying on medicine or the usual psychological procedures. Yeah. And really, and to really look at the body as the place of intelligence and wisdom, that if you heal, you need to heal into the body level, this kind of thing. I think I'm thinking about this work because it seems like a very simple idea that can be understood easily, but in the end it's true that the medical world, for example, hasn't really trusted the body as the, what is it, the, as a legitimate realm of healing.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at the modern medicine, it's all about giving you drugs, to fix things, to fix one thing. And then if you have another symptom, you have another drug to fix the other thing. But I think if you look at the body as the platform of healing, it's all coherent, it's all kind of whole. It's a holistic kind of
Mm-hmm.
approach where you don't give drug to cure one thing. You have to actually uh, work with everything at once. Otherwise, nothing's gonna really go away. You can't just, what is it, fragment the 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 remedy or the fixing. Yeah. So instead of looking at human being like parts of a machine that you can fix one part here and then one part there,
Mm-hmm.
you want to look at this as a one whole body. And this is a whole system that needs to go together. So I think that book just kind of reinforces what I already believe and use in my artistic practice, but that is kind of an extension into the real world, where if you could change the way doctors or the medical industry about how to treat people, then it would change many, many things. It would change a lot of things. It would change the system of healthcare. I think it would change a lot, and it would look very different from what it is right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
Mm.
really love to read this book after the podcast. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
it with us. And
Mm-mm.
I'm
It's
sure, yeah,
it's
maybe,
very touching. Yeah.
yeah, viewers and listeners will also read it after the
Yeah.
podcast. And as for the last question, it's like a fun, in a sort of way. If you could have lunch with any historical figure, movie, game, or book
Ui.
character, who would it be and why?
Wow. Oh. Now I'm thinking of another writer, and it might even answer your previous
Mm-hmm.
question. I'm thinking about bell hooks, and bell hooks wrote a book called is it called Love or something? Oh, All About Love. That's the title of the book. Yeah. She's a black feminist writer. And I think I think because I read a lot and I also do a lot of art, it's not very easy to feel completely impressed by a book. It's not easy for me to feel that. But with this book, with Bell Hooks, the way she wrote about the concept of love,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like no one on earth has tackled this idea of love the way she does before. And it's very gentle, but simultaneously critical and uncompromising, but still very human. So there's something very special about the way she thinks about this fundamental thing in human life, which is love. And I feel like I would I I would love to just spend maybe a long afternoon with her listening to how she views the world and the human life. I think the way she thinks is very, very beautiful, very intelligent, nothing like I ever have seen before. Actually, that's another book that's really important to me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not so much for my artistic creation, but it's very, very important to yeah, to how I view life and relationships and love. Yeah.
And as for the last part of the podcast, we usually play a game called This or That. So I'll give you two
Hmm.
variants and you'll have to choose quite quickly, maybe without
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah, so
Okay.
rehearse for weeks or improvise on stage.
Oh, improvise on stage.
A text heavy theater or physical visual storytelling.
Physical visual
Yeah,
storyteller. Yeah.
making audiences laugh or making them cry.
Making them laugh.
Film
Uh,
acting or live theater.
say again, sorry.
Film acting or live theater.
Live theater.
Voice acting or physical performance.
Oh, physical performance.
Have you ever done voice acting, by the way?
Yes, that's also my other profession where it
Oh,
actually earns me a living. While the art doesn't, I do this for a living, which
can,
is voice acting.
can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about it, about voice acting?
Yeah, so I in the voice industry, I do both voice acting and I also direct
Mm-hmm.
voice acting. So I've been in this industry for 10-ish years already, and I've done quite a few different things. So mostly it would be like commercials, like
Mm-hmm.
advertisements, or there's also less exciting stuff like e-learning, books, or manuals, instructions, presentation videos, but the most exciting thing is game. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so we have been doing some major game projects where they do like localization into different languages.
Mm-hmm.
And these games are really high quality script, and acting, also original acting are very, really good. So when we do the localization, we don't just do the voice, but we cast theater actors actually
Mm-hmm.
to do the voice acting. So it's been super fun. And I'm very fortunate that I get to work on this for many, many years already, both as an actor, but also to direct these projects. Yeah. So it's a fun world. It's a really fun world, I feel. Yeah.
And what
Mm.
are the games called that you worked on?
I think I can say, of course I can say it's yes, I've been in media about it before. So it's Hearthstone.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's actually one of the esports, I believe. Yeah. So Hearthstone is under the company Blizzard, and it's a card game, and it's yeah, and you can, fight your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Strategizing your cards, and the voices are for these characters, and whenever you lay out a card there'll be like a line, a reaction that comes with it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole universe of characters. They're also it's in the same family as World of Warcraft, so it's
Mm-hmm.
quite complex, the universe. So there's so many characters and a lot of complex narratives and stories behind them, each of them. And there's also development in the years. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like they're a bit of my imaginary family
Mm-hmm.
because some characters have been with us for 10 years and they have this and that and development. They get older or they get angrier or, through the years. So,
Oh, that's
yeah,
so
that's
cool.
another world that
Mm-hmm.
I am in. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. As for other variants,
Yes,
coffee or tea,
coffee.
time travel or to the past or to the future.
To the past, to the past.
Why would you choose the past? Can you explain this answer?
Because I don't want to see the future yet, I think. But I'm interested in seeing
Uh-huh.
some parts of the past. Yeah.
If you could
Yeah.
go to any era, which era would you choose?
Maybe just before I was born, like
Mm-hmm.
the 50s to the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an interesting period in humanity. Yeah.
Rom-coms or psychological thrillers?
Mm. Psychological thriller for now.
Early bird or night owl?
Uh, Early bird. Yeah.
Yeah, this was the last variant. And before we wrap up, so you mentioned some project that you are working on at the moment. And before we wrap up, do you have any exciting announcements or maybe upcoming projects or maybe the current projects that you would like to share with our listeners and viewers?
Well, I would say for my own artistic project.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone is interested in following, I think you can follow the social media of the Wiesbaden Biennale. I believe they're on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
more actively than other platforms. And the other one in Berlin, that's by the Maxim Gorky Theater. And the festival is called the Berliner Herbstsalon. And I think you can also follow their website or social media for that. But I also want to talk about the other part of my work that I
Mm-hmm.
haven't talked about. I have so many other things, is that I'm producing um, an artist also. And this artist, he's a Thai theater director. He's called Wichaya Atamat. Me and him, we are touring in many different countries. And this year, we'll also have upcoming touring. And if you would like to follow our projects, you can follow For What Theater. For what, like, for what, this
Mm-hmm.
kind of question. Yeah, so For What Theater, I think we're mostly active on Instagram. Um, yeah, and if you're in different countries, maybe you can catch us at different places because we're going to different countries with quite a few projects. Like this year, we are going to China, Taiwan, Paris, and Korea. Yeah. And I think next year we're going to be in Australia and others will come afterwards as well.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool. I will share all the links to the projects in the comments so people could
Mhm.
check them out. And this was all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and
Thank
for joining
you.
me today. I hope that you and also the listeners and viewers enjoyed our conversation. And if you enjoyed today's episode, you can subscribe and also share your favorite moment of this podcast in the comments. And until then, keep exploring, keep creating, keep shining, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you.